The extent of the utter devastation caused by the fire here at Grenfell Tower still takes the breath away. But there are parts of the building, particularly the facade of the bottom floors, where the cladding, although charred, seems to be more or less intact. Naturally, attention has been focused on the cladding and its apparently decisive role in spreading the fire. Less attention so far has gone on the cause of the fire itself. The police say the blaze began with a fridge fire on the 4th floor of the 24-floor tower block. Fire investigators are now trying to determine how it started.
Latimer Road customers, you are respectfully asked to not take pictures of Grenfell Tower from this station, as well as being upsetting to many local residents.
The Latimer Road tube station is the closest to Grenfell. Near there, I talked to Winston Douglas, for 32 years a fireman in the London Fire Brigade, who ended his career as a station commander in Islington. In terms of fires caused by electrical appliances, how common is that?
So yeah, that's relatively common in the fire service. I would say, through my experience, a high proportion of calls we attend are due to whether that's electrical fault with wiring, badly maintained, manufacturer fault, a range of devices, a range of issues. But electrical fault fires are quite high up there in terms of the number of incidents we attend across the capital.
Documents and emails obtained by this programme show that residents of Grenfell had persistent and serious concerns about electricity at the tower, particularly over the series of power surges that caused a significant number of electrical devices here to malfunction and even to emit smoke. The documents relate to a series of power surges during 2013. In particular, powerful surges on May the 29th that year affected 45 of the 129 flats at Grenfell Tower, damaging dozens of appliances, from fridges to computers. Eventually, 25 residents submitted compensation claims for damaged electrical goods. The council's insurers paid out compensation of £200 to each affected resident, a sum which many of them considered derisory. A letter dated July the 24th, 2013, from the Housing Department of Kensington and Chelsea Council and copied to leading local councillors stated that a series of surges were reported in Grenfell Tower and that the Kensington and Chelsea Tenant Management Organisation that was responsible for managing the block has been actively investigating the cause. The letter added,
"Financial help has also been offered to the residents who may have lost a fridge or cooking facilities at the time of the incidents."
The letter was sent to Judith Blakeman, the local Labour councillor. Councillor Blakeman is also a board member of the Tenant Management Organisation, or TMO.
I got lots of complaints from residents about a power surge that affected a part of the block, and as a result they had lost the use of all their electrical equipment, including laptops, computers, fridges, whatever, microwaves. And some of them complained that there was smoke coming out of the equipment at the time when the power surge happened.
What were the concerns about the power surges themselves?
The concerns were that it was dangerous, and obviously we asked for a report from the TMO, and they never actually quite gave us a reason for it. But one of the things they tried to suggest was that the smoke that people had seen was actually steam. Now, that didn't go down well with residents because they can tell the difference between smoke and steam.
And residents remain deeply concerned about electricity at the block. One document indicates that the surges caused appliances to overheat and smoke. In an email to the TMO in November 2013, more than 6 months after the serious surges, one resident claimed that electrical engineers failed to detect any problem, adding,
"How could this be? Even the dogs in the street knew by this time that the Grenfell Tower power supply was in a highly volatile and dangerous state."
He demanded an investigation, saying,
"Until then, we can't rest and don't feel secure in our own home."
Councillor Judith Blakeman says she often used her position as a board member of the TMO to raise safety issues. She does not believe the electricity problems at Grenfell were ever solved.
Certainly nobody ever confirmed to me that the situation had been resolved.
And was this something you raised with the Tenant Management Organisation as a member of the TMO and of the council?
When I was working on behalf of the residents, I was acting as their ward councillor, but obviously as a member of the TMO board, I also raised it at the board. And I think the board actually got really fed up with me constantly raising issues about Grenfell Tower.
Geoff Wilkinson is a building inspector and a fire expert.
Certainly the issue with electricity spikes could well have been an issue which led to the fire in the first instance. If you're getting appliances overheat as a result of that, then that could be an initial ignition source, but that in itself won't have led to the spread. There are literally thousands of fires every year, and they don't spread in the way that we've seen.
And certainly on one day, you had an issue with 20 appliances. Would that concern you?
I think it clearly concerns anyone that if you hear that there are 20 appliances in one day, there is something clearly wrong. That's not just an issue with an individual appliance, that's something that's a bit more fundamental and certainly should be investigated.
The documents may relate to the power surges here 4 years ago, but residents' concerns about electricity persisted right up until the outbreak of the fire itself. Sajjad Jamal Vatan, a student, moved into a flat on the 3rd floor of Grenfell Tower with his family only in August last year. He said he was particularly disturbed by the noise made by the newly installed electricity meter and the rate at which it kept gobbling up money. He was also worried about the state of the wiring at the block.
The meter should not make any noise unless you reach the credit of nothing, like zero. And you just put £20, you just start screaming out loud, you need to top up. No,
just after putting £20 in?
Yeah, after £5 into it, it just screams at night, at day. Like, I actually have to take the battery off that meter. It's just like, stop. You can't tell it to stop. You have to take the battery out. So I went to the basement and I saw a huge mess in basement. So much wires, lot of wires sticking from nowhere to nowhere.
Local resident Joe Delaney is a spokesman for a residents group, the Grenfell Action Group, that blogged concerns about the electricity and power surges at Grenfell at the time. I've spoken to people who experience strange sounds coming from their electricity meter.
Lots of people have reported things like that. There's been lots of issues with the electrics, the lighting, the heating, the lift, the entry buzzer system. There seem to be a litany of problems there.
We contacted both the TMO and Kensington and Chelsea Council. Both said they could not comment due to the public inquiry and police investigation. The TMO added,
"We recognise our responsibility to ensure that the investigative process is not hampered or undermined in any way."
Many people focus on the cladding as the most significant issue of the controversial refurbishment of Grenfell Tower. Labour councillor Judith Blakeman also heard residents' concerns about the siting of electrical installations during the refurbishment itself.
It was a major concern for residents because all the new boilers that were supposed to be put in the kitchen where the old boilers had been, it was originally intended to put all of them in the hallway instead. And as residents pointed out, this was directly below the electricity meter, and they had major concerns that obviously electricity and water don't go together, and they felt this was very dangerous.
The public inquiry into the fire, which destroyed so much of this tower block and took so much human life here, will obviously seek to determine the cause of the fire as well as the reasons for its rapid spread. The disturbing history of electricity surges and other problems associated with the power supply is bound to be taken into account.